So a few weeks ago, I put out a video talking about music that I've discovered and grown to love and generally appreciate because of movies. I've always liked music, but listening to different songs and different genres of music and whatnot in movies has really opened my ears up to be able to really discover a lot more than I think I ever would have. So when it comes to movies, I pretty much have to have the best quality. I am a stickler for making sure I get a 4K versus a Blu-ray, unless of course the transfer is terrible or something like that. But I just cannot sit there and watch a DVD of something knowing that there's the 4K or Blu-ray out there or whatever the case is. That's just the way it is. When it comes to music, I'm very much exactly the same way. I cannot just go on Spotify or something and choose whatever I want to listen to and be happy with that, knowing that there's something better sounding out there. What other better reason than your ears? The better sounding it is, the easier, the less harsh it is on your ears, the louder you can play it and the more joy you're going to get out of it, and the better it is on your eardrums themselves. So this video here is really just to be able to talk about audio quality. You see, if you look up online or YouTube or wherever, if you look up analog versus digital or CD versus vinyl or whatever the case is, you're going to see a lot of videos and articles that really try to go into the mathematics of why one is better than the other. And usually they're going to come out and say, well, CD's better. And then they're going to have, oh, well, your ears can only hear up to this certain amount. And then you have your kilohertz and bit depth. And they're going to go into all these explanations. And what does that mean to anybody unless they're really into audio and recording and knowing those things? It's not going to mean much to the average person, especially if you're trying to persuade them into appreciating the audio quality better. So I guess that's what this is. It's kind of like a compare and contrast. Which one do I think is better? And perhaps once I'm done with this, maybe I could persuade some of you out there to maybe appreciate the audio quality a bit more. The first thing I would like to ask is, have you ever walked down the street, walked past a bar or something and heard music, and immediately you know, hey, there's a live band in there playing versus, oh, that's just something that's just being played over the speaker system. So I would say the number one rule when figuring out, let's just go with CD versus vinyl. If you're trying to figure out if a particular album is better on a CD release or a vinyl release, number one rule is listen to them at the same volume. 9 times out of 10, a CD is going to be louder than the record. And if you listen to the CD and you blast it as loud as your ears and the environment that you're in can take it, if you listen to that and then you try to listen to the vinyl, and the vinyl's much lower in volume, which it typically is, you're going to automatically assume, well, the CD is better just because it's louder. And that's what a lot of companies have done over the years because they've pressed CDs to be so loud. You hear of the loudness wars, which is unbelievably still going on today, to where they have made CDs louder and louder and louder and just incredibly overloaded and terrible sounding for the most part. And there are some CDs that can sound better than the vinyls that I've been able to compare to. So it's not always that CDs are louder and worse. Sometimes they can be a little louder, sure. And they might be better. Sonically, they could be better even though they're louder. But really, when you're trying to compare the two, listen to them at the same volume. However you have to do it, That's going to be super important. The next thing that you must do when comparing and contrasting is, of course, knowing what to listen for, knowing which song or what parts of a song is good to listen to. You want to be able to tell how wide the soundscape is. You want to be able to listen for instruments. How does the bass sound in this particular song? How do the hi-hats sound in this song? And what about the guitar? There's lots of things to be really thinking about. You can listen to 3 different songs and listen for 3 different things across those songs, and compare and contrast. I would say in general, though, what you're looking for the most part, is that analog sound of feeling that the band is there in the room playing in front of you. That is going to yield the best results, in my opinion. You want to feel the guitar strings being plucked. You want to feel the bass as a, not as a hard vibration, but as a strong, full feel to it. You hear a lot of the times people describe vinyl as being warm sounding, and some other people will say, "Oh, that's actually a distorted sound." A good warm sound to a vinyl really makes the low frequencies sound like they're very natural, rather than just hitting you over the head with them. Take a listen to. I'll go with my favorite band, Led Zeppelin. I have listened to multiple copies of their CDs. The original Barry Diamonds, you got the Merinos. I listened to those a long time ago. You have the 2014, 2015 CD releases. All those CDs do not even come close to many vinyl copies of their albums. It's not close whatsoever. I just got done listening to Huey Lewis and the News Sports, and the CD copy I have of that, an MFSL copy. If you don't know what that is, it's just a Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. It's just a company who produces CDs and records. I'm not going to get into those specific details. There's lots of other channels that can go and that talk about that. But it just so happens that CD is better than the record I found of it. Yeah, I mean, you really have to be able to listen for that very natural, I would call it analog, but in the room instrument sound and feel to the music. So look out for that, especially if you're listening to any music on speakers. That's when you're going to get that really good sound. If you're going to be listening to comparing and contrasting CDs versus vinyl on earphones, you want it to be loud, of course, to be able to really, really feel everything. But you want to be able to groove to the music rather than just have it playing. I don't know if you ever experience it, but sometimes you can throw on some music and it's just pounding you over the head with it. But then you play the same track from a different source, and all of a sudden you can almost sit back in your seat and relax and enjoy it a lot more. Look out for that. If you really don't have the sources to be able to physically compare different formats yourself, check out some forums online, see what other people say. Not everyone's going to be totally correct. I was looking at some forums the other day talking about which version of the Who's Quadrophenia is best. And a lot of people say the Classic Records release is the best. And that's a very good release. That's a release that I would definitely have. But it's not very deep. It has a big sound stage. Those instruments feel like they're right there, but it's just not a huge, deep feel. Which with the Who, you got John Entwistle playing that bass. I kind of like that bass. So there's a 2008, actually a really good remaster of that album that came out, and the bass is nice and deep on that. So you have the original UK release. And of course they all blow the CD out of the water, but even different releases of the same album on the same format, just different releases, can sound dramatically different. So you might want to have the classic records for perhaps speakers, and then maybe the 2008 release for your headphones. Maybe you prefer the early UK sound of the record. So really, you can just start digging yourself deep down into a rabbit hole of trying to figure out what's the best. And there is no answer as to what's the best. It comes down to each specific album. I don't want to go into any more details about trying to figure out what the best is. I think I got my point across by saying the only way to know is to listen to as many versions as you can and pick out the best that sounds good to you. Knowing how to compare and contrast, making sure everything's at the same volume, knowing what to listen for. So if you can do it, if you care enough, if the words "it's good enough" is not really in your vocabulary, you want the best that you can possibly get, then yeah, go out and look up on some foreign forums. Are there any CDs versions of any albums that are better than any records out there? Are there any records that just there's no comparison to the CD? And then if you can buy multiple copies, go for it. Figure it out yourself. If you know someone who's really into that, great. Ask them what the best version of such and such is. I myself have listened to hundreds of albums, and I've listened to all sorts of different sources, so I could, several artists that I don't like, other than them, but there's hundreds of artists I could tell you the best versions of each of their albums for. So yeah, I just wanted to be able to make this video to kind of put my thoughts on the subject, because I have spent countless hours, countless days, probably weeks, trying to figure out the best. I would say 80% of the time, if not more, I prefer the record over the CD. But sometimes you can find some great CD releases. Now that's not saying that the physical CD itself is just not a good format. CDs are a great format. They you don't have to worry about flipping them to be able to get through an entire album. You don't have to worry about dirt and dust and things like that, and making sure you have a good turntable and all this stuff. But CDs can be very good, but usually it's the mixing and the mastering that can ruin a CD. I don't care if it's a brand new vinyl or one that's 50 years old. Clean it very well. That's going to be it's going to make a huge difference, especially if you do a really good job of cleaning it ahead of time. And the more money you put into the equipment, the better it's going to sound. But yeah, so that's all for this video. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about vinyl versus CD, if there's any rules you go by, how you listen to music. If you're one of those people who thinks that choosing a song on Spotify and letting the app do whatever it wants to do to show you whatever music it wants to show you, if you're that, okay, that's perfectly fine. But let me know. And if you have any questions about maybe what I prefer for a particular album, if there's a particular CD or vinyl release that you want to know about to be able to get, I can do for the most part, a really good job of recommending a lot of music out there. Either way, I just wanted to be able to talk freely about the importance of good quality music, whether it's saving your eardrums from terribly compressed sounding music, or just being able to enjoy something more because it has a better quality than a different source. One last thing I will finish up on is there's been multiple times where I have listened to something for the first time and said, oh, I don't like this band. This album's no good. And then I will listen to a really good sounding copy of it, and then all of a sudden, hey, I really like this band. And so it's amazing how the quality of the audio can add so much to your overall music experience. So like, share, subscribe, comment below, give me a thumbs up, all that good stuff. And I will be back with more movies, of course. Movies are going to be the main subject of my channel. And but music is a big part of movies too. And it's a big part of my life along with movies. So until the next one, catch you later.